Hey there, this is Paul again with Missing Miles in National Park, and today we have missing people who returned with crazy stories and no memory.
Imagine you pop out to the store for a quick 10-minute trip, and the next thing you know, you're waking up weeks later in a completely different city with no idea who you are. Your family is there, your friends are there, but to you, they're total strangers. The face staring back at you in the mirror, you don't recognize it. This sounds like the plot of a thriller, but for some people, it's a terrifying and baffling reality. This phenomenon is often linked to a rare condition called a dissociative fugue. Think of your mind like a complex computer and your identity as its operating system. When faced with an overwhelming trauma or stress, the system can crash. A fugue state is like the computer rebooting in a safe mode. It can still perform basic functions, but all your personal files, your memories, and your sense of self are temporarily inaccessible. Today, we're looking at 3 unbelievable but true cases of people who vanished, only to reappear with their memories totally wiped. Their stories make you question everything you think you know about identity and the incredible mysteries of the human mind. Our first story is probably the most famous and tragic example of this phenomenon, the story of Hannah Upp. In 2008, Hannah was a bright, popular 23-year-old teacher in New York City, about to start a new year at a school in Harlem. On August 28th, she left her apartment for a normal, everyday jog and just vanished. She left her phone, wallet, and ID behind. So when she didn't show up for the first day of school, a huge search kicked off. Friends and family covered the city with flyers, and soon, all of New York was captivated by the story of the missing teacher. For nearly 3 weeks, nothing. Then, on September 16th, a Staten Island ferry captain saw something floating face down in New York Harbor. Believing he was looking at a tragedy, he called for a rescue boat. As they pulled her from the water, she gasped for air. It was Hannah. She was alive but suffering from severe dehydration, hypothermia, and a nasty sunburn down one side of her body. When she woke up in the hospital with her relieved family around her, she was just confused. For her, it felt like no time had passed at all.
I went from going for a run to being in the ambulance. It was like 10 minutes had passed, but it was almost 3 weeks.
She genuinely thought she needed to be discharged quickly to go set up her classroom, having no idea school had started weeks ago. After a lot of tests, doctors diagnosed Hannah with dissociative fugue. This rare form of amnesia is like a circuit breaker in the brain. When the emotional load becomes too much to handle, it trips, plunging the person into a state where they lose access to their identity and personal history. Trying to piece together her missing weeks was almost impossible. Security footage caught her at an Apple store checking email and at her gym, but she seemed aimless. A friend even saw her in a Starbucks, but when he called her name, Hannah bolted out the back door. The public reaction was pretty mixed. A lot of people accused her of faking it, which left Hannah feeling mortified. She tried to get on with her life, but the fugue state wasn't a one-time thing. In September 2013, she was working as a teacher's assistant in Maryland when it happened again. She vanished for 2 days and was found in a creek, again with no memory of how she got there. The timing was strange, right at the start of a new school year, which is always a stressful time. Tragically, there's a third and final chapter to Hannah's story. In 2014, she moved to St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands to start over as a teacher. In September 2017, Hurricane Irma devastated the island. Hannah survived, but as another monster hurricane, Maria, barreled toward them, something went wrong. On September 14th, Hannah told her roommate she was going for a morning swim and never came back. Her car was found at a beach with her passport, wallet, and phone inside. Her sandals were left on a stool at a beach bar. Hannah Upp was gone. Despite desperate searches, she has never been seen again. The prevailing theory is that the stress of the hurricanes was like another massive power surge, tripping that same mental circuit breaker, drawing her to the water just as before, where she was tragically lost in the turbulent ocean. Hannah's story shows the terrifying, repeating cycle of this condition. Our next case is just as baffling, and it shows how someone can cross multiple states, living for weeks in a world without a past. In early May of 2011, a woman walked up to a police officer in a park in Joliet, Illinois, completely lost. She had no clue who she was, where she was from, or how she ended up there. She was taken to a hospital, but doctors found she was perfectly healthy. No signs of injury, no drugs, no alcohol. She was a total mystery, a Jane Doe. Police sent her picture to the media, hoping someone out there would recognize her. The call finally came. Someone thought the Jane Doe looked like a missing woman from Jackson, Michigan, named Amber Gerweck. Amber, a 33-year-old mother of 4, had been reported missing by her family almost a month earlier. Adding to the mystery, her car had been found abandoned at a Dollar General in Georgia, hundreds of miles from her home and hundreds of miles from where she was found. When Amber's parents flew to Illinois, they knew it was her instantly, but she had no idea who they were. Her father later described the absolute blankness in her eyes as she looked at him, and even her own children, as if they were total strangers. Her last memory was from weeks before, driving to a convenience store in Michigan to grab some ice cream. She remembered walking down the aisle, and then, nothing. It was as if someone had snipped a 3-week section out of the film of her life. Doctors concluded Amber had also experienced a dissociative fugue. They believed it was a delayed reaction to the immense stress from a difficult divorce and other personal traumas from years earlier. Her mind, unable to cope, had hit the reset button. But unlike Hannah Upp, Amber's memories did start to slowly trickle back months later. She said it was an agonizing process. Imagine years of painful experiences being fast-forwarded and crammed into a few days. She was forced to relive it all at once. Still, those 3 lost weeks remained a complete blank. No one knows how she got from Michigan to Georgia, then all the way to Illinois, or what she did in that time.
I need to discover who I am, not who I was.
From repeating memory loss to journeys across the country, these cases are deeply unsettling. But this final story shows how a single moment of sheer terror can sever a person from reality, sending them hundreds of miles on a journey they'll never remember. In 2013, a medical journal published a case report about the wild experience of a 28-year-old medical student in Nigeria. He was in his final year, a time of crushing academic and mental pressure. One night, while studying alone, he had a terrifying hallucination. He looked up and saw a full human skeleton sitting across the table, also reading a book. Gripped by absolute fear and a feeling of impending doom, his mind just snapped. He has no idea when he even left the room, but he was gone for 10 days. His family and friends who knew nothing about the skeleton reported him missing. He was eventually found nearly 400 miles away, at his brother's house. When doctors examined him, he knew who he was in the present, but he had total amnesia for a 2-day period. He had zero memory of what happened after the hallucination. How did he pay for an 8-hour road trip? How did he navigate the bus routes to find his brother? All he knew was one moment he was terrified in his room, and the next he just came to, in a city far from his university. The student admitted that leading up to this he'd been struggling with severe depression. The insane stress of his final exams piled on top of his depression created the perfect storm for a dissociative fugue. This case is a powerful clinical example of the mind's defense mechanism. His brain didn't just pull a fire alarm, it evacuated the entire building. His body was put on autopilot, its only directive being to get away from the source of terror and find safety, all while his conscious mind was locked away. It's a chilling reminder that sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones inside our own heads. A teacher floating in a harbor, a student who travels hundreds of miles in a trance. These stories reveal just how fragile our memory and sense of self can be. The people in these cases didn't just forget a few things, they forgot who they were entirely. Their minds, slammed with overwhelming trauma or stress, hit eject, leaving their bodies to wander on autopilot. A dissociative fugue isn't a choice or a hoax, it's a profound and terrifying glitch in our most basic survival instincts. These cases leave us with more questions than answers. Our identity feels solid, like a house built of brick, but these stories suggest it might be more like a house of cards, which can be blown apart by a single, powerful gust of trauma. It forces us to think about a chilling idea: how much of who we are is actually permanent, and how much is just a story we tell ourselves. A story that, under the right pressure, could simply be deleted.
If you found these mysteries as fascinating as we did, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more strange and unbelievable true stories. Thanks for watching.